An explosion.
Yo, what's good, guys? It's your boy Lee. Welcome to Kona. Let's get it.
Carl Faubert sought information for a living. That is to say that ever since he returned from Korea, after having served with the armed forces, he had been working as a private investigator in Montreal. William Hamilton, a rich industrialist, had gotten in touch with him regarding a simple vandalism issue. Nothing to write home about. Not worth hiring a private eye either, just so he can drive for hours on rough roads. But that's how it had always been. The client pays, Carl gets it done. Mine's business. Well, actually, the entire village had William Hamilton's name written all over it.
Yeah, I don't know if that's copyright, so I have to turn that off. My bad.
The roads were bad, muddy, or snowed in. It was customary around these parts to close them off. But it was also customary to ignore those signs entirely and drive there anyway.
Okay.
Hamilton never mentioned a road blocking barrier. Why was it needed here in the back of Beyond? That would, however, be a mystery for another day. Carl had waited long enough for someone to come and raise it. Still not a soul in sight. There was no point in waiting any longer. Carl had to figure this one out by himself.
Manston. It will be good.
Hamilton no doubt knew who managed the barrier. Carl wanted to give him a call, but that would have been too easy though, as sure enough the line was acting up.
Ooh. Wait, he paused it? No, we want these.
Carl, ever diligent in his work, always carried his log on him, in which he scribbled down thoughts and leads alike during the course of his investigations. The Polaroid, Carl's long-standing and faithful ally, had seen its share of husbands caught red-handed cheating. There's always something out there waiting to be snapped away.
So we can't get to that rock clearly. Bottle? Why? I don't. Okay. I want to take a picture of this. I feel like it's important. I'm gonna keep it. I feel like it's important. Okay, we need those. Fire starters, awesome. Ooh, it's a Chevy. Awesome. First, let me get this close.
The cutters made quick work of the chain. What better way to investigate vandals than to get into their shoes, Carl, the professional vandal thought, reveling in the irony of the situation. Hamilton is waiting for Carl in the general store. It was time for him to get down to business. William Hamilton enjoyed a lavish country house built in the very heart of the northern forests, not too far from here. The local populace was divided when it came to the affluent men. Some saw a wealthy philanthropist dedicated to improving the region's economy. Others an aging Englishman who would do anything to further his fortunes. And those ones hated him enough to go on about scheming against him. Hamilton had recently acquired a few local businesses, but the last straw was the reopening of a mine, which gave rise to a wave of protests and threats from the Cree people. Given these circumstances, Carl reckoned that a good number of people must be feeling compelled to oppose Hamilton in one way or another. So far, only the industrialist's house had been a target, but soon enough, Carl thought, the target would become the man himself.
Few hours? Oh, buddy. Okay, we have new
Carl
stuff.
needed to get out of there. The cold and the pain required urgent care.
Huh? I'm not crazy, right? It was just sunny a few minutes ago. I'm not crazy. I'm confused, huh? Was it just what? There was no snow before. Well, we have fire starters for a reason, right? Get them out, we must use them. Put that back. Inventory. Fire starter. Use something.
This deep in the country, his last hope was to find an abandoned garage or a farm by the roadside. His life depended on it.
I mean, it takes a few minutes to get hypothermia, right? Man, screw this person. He did this.
The driver had taken off. It was still best to check it out and leave nothing to chance.
Who's this?
Carl needed help. Such heart-wrenching Nordic poetry that was. But Carl didn't care much about flowery language.
Isabel, you gave meaning to everything when you disappeared. Sort of purity, okay. Coincidence? So is that it?
It was so cold. Already Carl did not feel his toes anymore.
Warm up, Bird, warm up. Are we good?
Even better than he had hoped. Carl Faubert had succeeded once more, and was now on his way to new adventures.
Well, we don't have wood. I'm gonna go out here though real quick.
A fire can't be started with a snap of the fingers.
I know that. I'm pretty sure he does if he's a private investigator. Come on now. Nothing up here that was for nothing.
The cold was burning Carl. He would not hold up much longer.
All right.
He had to warm himself.
Wood. Move. There we go. Got him. We're good. Okay. Got him. Just hope he don't crash again because I can't see in this weather. Oh yeah, the roads are icy too. See, I can't even see. Can y'all see? I can't see.
Spread out on a few acres of untouched forest, bellowing caribou, everlasting snow, and undefiled lakes. The Manistan region was no tourist hub. It was said to have been populated for millennia by Cree people, and ever since the industrial era, by the metal mining industry.
Yo, whoever house that was, I'm sorry for that door being open. It's gonna be really cold in there in the morning.
Jean-Luc Bédard had without a doubt been the closest man in the village to William Hamilton, otherwise known as Uncle Willie. The truck was running on fumes. Good thing that the general store was close by.
Bro, he's getting so lucky. Like, just barely. Car been running for hours. His car is not even fully broken from that crash.
The pumps wouldn't
So
surrender
lucky.
their divine nectar so easily. In all likelihood, they had to be switched on from inside the store. Something fell to the bottom of the box. A milkman had to drive by every week to fill the bottle. The fresh milk indicated a recent visit. Carl had no trouble recognizing his employer. He had been killed. There was no need to be a detective to figure that out. But only a detective could have noticed that the killer had to have been very close, that the fatal blow had been given before the victim even realized.
Well, there's a handprint. What time are we in? Because we can use DNA technology.
What could be inside that envelope? Carl was taken aback. He knew this address. It was said to be the address of the P.O. box for the Canadian Secret Service.
Thank you.
An explosion suddenly occurred outside.
What the freak?
Carl knew that Gilles Lachance was in charge of the general store. That made him one of Hamilton's employees. A very angry employee, as Carl could plainly see.
You know what, Hamilton? I have a frog in my throat. And when people have a frog in their throat, they do not take risks by going to work. Customers could catch it, right? I'm a wise man, not to worry. I have a nice doctor's note, which I'm going out to get right now. Sadly, in the meantime, I will have to close down the shop unless you would like to come fill in for me. I wouldn't dare advise you after all. You must know how it's done since it's yours now. With kind regards, your dedicated manager, Grills. I'm gonna say Grills.
The snowstorm pummeled everything in its path. Carl was not surprised when he heard no tone.
We're gonna rob this place. I think I know where that goes to.
According to that log, it seemed like the whole village owed some money to the general store. Carl was far more interested in the bunch of nearby addresses he had just gotten his hands on, though.
Oh. Man, this is a good game.
A nice picture of the Magasin Lachance store, seemingly taken the day it was first opened. It feels frozen in time, from an era long forgotten.
Ski.
Jumping from that height was akin to tempting death. Perhaps that man on the snowmobile had seen enough of this world already.
General store also serves as a post office. Ah. Okay. To open a cash register, punch the price 2 numbers. Press sale. Turn crank 2 times. Punch the machine if it doesn't work. Punch the price. Press sale. Turn crank 2 times. Bink. Bink. Sale. Give me the loot. Bruh. Aw, come on. I know you wanted that money now, come on. Stop playing with me. I would have taken it. The secretary wouldn't be like luxury in here. I don't know if I read that wrong. My bad if I did. I don't care about all that.
The note explained that the garage and the store couldn't be supplied with electricity at the same time.
Oh, it's only one. To turn off. No. Turn the store on. Turn that off. Turn off. Turn on. So the store's on.
The note explained that the garage and the store couldn't be supplied with electricity at the same time.
Well,
Maintaining
Oh,
his composure, Carl recalled something from his military training. Wolves always stay away from populated areas. Wait, was it about bears? Carl was no electrician, but he could identify a wiring problem when he saw one.
yeah, so I want to do it from the generator, of course. Maybe turn your
The
freaking truck
milkman
off.
had to drive by every
Wrong
week to
area.
fill the bottle. The fresh milk
Ooh.
indicated a recent visit. The murder weapon. What was that doing there, Carl wondered. Hamilton must have been determined to keep some information
Bullets.
secret to post this key. Shame he got unlucky. Everything made sense then. Poor Hamilton's denunciation was interrupted, and he figured it would be best to lock everything up and send the key to his correspondent, who would receive the box later on. Clever, but not enough.
It is as a
That's
citizen
what happens to ordinary people playing spy.
of Her Majesty and for the free economic chambers of the world that I must address powers, authorities, the worst is happening at this very moment. I cannot write at length, but I'm requesting immediate help for my country. Member of my community, the Honorable. Okay. Alright, okay. Maybe take some spare tires too, just in case. So we have a gun. What is this?
Carl was used to strange phenomena, but a chunk of ice like this, as if an iceberg came out of the ground, that was a first.
That's weird, but okay. I'm not going over there. Gonna go over here. Whoever's texting me, you gotta wait. Nothing. Close that junk. The cleanest spot in the area. Okay, we got what we need for the Jenny. Don't turn that on. Actually, what is it? Turn that off. What is this
The
again?
note explained that the garage and the store couldn't be supplied with electricity at the same time.
Okay. So that stays off. This stays on. Is it a light switch? Is that why no lights? I don't know. I don't get it. The generator. Oh, I need to turn it on, do I? Stupid. Well, there we go. Okay. A broken clock, how convenient. Turn it off. Phone, no. We want that pump on so we can fill up our truck. So let's go fill it up. Bro. I was a little bit too
Carl
quick.
knew straight away where to find the infuriated Gilles Lachamp. Any good investigation would have to start there.
The stairs on branded cans. I want to go to the garage real quick.
The crowbar was stuck under the lift. Notwithstanding imposing stature, car lifting wasn't part of his skill set yet.
It's not that hard to do. Really? I'm just gonna dip.
Carl felt that the store and its surroundings still held their secrets, and he didn't like to miss out.
Oh, mon bonhomme! Fais là, l'étrange.
Do it again. Oh, you lucky.
Je m'attendais pas à ce qu'un étrange retontisse par ici. Moi te dire, je prends plus de chance depuis que ça rôde dans le là. J'ai ma carabine au bout du doigt, et puis bang, 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 si ça s'approche.
And y'all don't even speak English.
C'est encore beau. Tout ce qui est vieilli est bien meilleur.
Look, I'm not reading all that.
C'est vrai, le jeune, que tu te promènes quasiment en bobette. Une bonne police, ça te fera pas de tort. Mais je vais te dire une chose, dans ton coin de pays comme par ici, on n'a rien sans rien. Et où, mon caribou? Hé, la Corriveau, j'atteste. Ça te passe l'envie de te marier, la Corriveau. Elle tuait tous ses maris, squick, les uns après les autres. Pas de pitié dans le mariage.
Man, I was really hoping to kill that guy.
La belle pétarade. En 17 que c'était. Et le Kaiser, il se souvient de moi avec ma belle carabine.
Alright, I'm
Ah, le bon.
I'm out of that area. Bro, what?
Sometimes, and especially around here, people are so possessive with their land, as a dog is with hydrants. The man seemed petrified in ice. What Carl saw terrified him, and he didn't know if it was the fear or the cold that was responsible for his hair standing on end all over his body. The poor man, before being frozen solid, seemed to be defending the entrance to his cabin. But from what?
Green milk for a little green man? What?
The machine appeared to be missing something critical, something necessary for it to take off. The shape of this machine, almost straight out of Star Trek, was out of the ordinary to say the least. It felt like this thing could fly up into space at any moment. The very first steps of man on the moon were made more than a year ago. The event had surely captivated the mechanic's mind for him to still keep this around.
So...
Like this thing could fly up into space at any moment.
Christ. What? Full fire started. That's the weird part.
Something very important must have been in there for the man to take such time and effort to hide it. But Carl didn't know how to reach it. Carl had a hunch that there had got to be a plan somewhere that could help him put this thing back together.
Hamilton, I won't beat your dog anymore.
Roswell, Atamipek, same story. Large deserts conducive to extravagant follies. Carl deducted this was a map of the area. Were those pins pointing to places of interest? Weird stuff. Kind of a crossing between a colander and a hairdryer. What was it for? To play telepath? To protect against nuclear waves? These scribblings were undoubtedly the mark of a tormented mind. Something wasn't right in the poor mechanic's head. If some daring person could manage to get their hands on the missing parts, Carl was willing to bet that the craft would have taken flight. Perhaps someone was expecting an important call. In any case, that person's in for a long wait. Carl already noticed that telephone services weren't provided in this area.
I got an idea. I'll start being at it.
The shape of this machine. What good was a motorless car? The mechanic sure had an odd way to go about repairing things. Carl hadn't lived up to his good finder reputation. He still hadn't found any of the wealth contained in Lamotte's lands.
Here's the spark plug.
It was so cold. Already Carl did not feel his toes anymore. To all appearances, Carl concluded, the owner of the place had moved more essentials from his house inside the garage. Peculiar man indeed. The man has a passion for intergalactic things. Back then, people were obviously scared of the Russian atomic bomb, but an invasion by extraterrestrials was a legit fear as well. Seems like the mechanic had made his choice. It was an indisputable fact that machines like this entailed a level of intellectual finesse that Carl was lacking. The week of October 5th, thought Carl. That was this week. The plug should have been here by now.
Yeah, I have it. Luckily, I'm gonna get off soon, so.
The place looked more like a pigsty than a house. A heavy stench of curdled milk, cheap alcohol, and boiled cauliflower filled the air.
A gun rack?
You had to be out of your mind to cook up white whiskey at home. The all-surrounding stench of alcohol alone was probably enough to gas a man to death. The rag reeked of fermented vomit. Carl wondered how one could bear to live in such gross and horrid conditions.
White whiskey too much isn't allowed. Quantifier for that. Okay.
Jean Blouin. Seems like that pig had a name after all. Rock music invaded the minds of men even in the remotest of places. The man didn't own a turntable though, so there's that going for him. Back then, in Africa and elsewhere, people were ready to take up arms to stand against the yoke of English imperialism. In Montreal, mailboxes were blown up, abductions were carried out, and violent manifestos were distributed to media outlets. But around here, in the great northernmost, all a man could do is curse out loud against a faraway evil and pray for the revolution to arise. That man, by any reckoning, was from that very stock. An axe, not too shabby. Carl felt he needed to protect himself. You had to be out of your mind to cook up white whiskey at home. The all-surrounding stench of alcohol alone was probably enough to gas a man to death. Carl knew right away that the owner of this place wasn't a copper collector. No, this was a junkman's base of operations. The guy definitely seemed like quite the expert in scavenging scrap metal, with or without permission, surely. In the right hands, red metal could sell like hotcakes. With a homemade shooting range such as this, it wasn't hard to imagine a stray bullet ending its course inside the flesh of an unsuspecting passerby. Granted, Carl thought, there wasn't much in the way of passersby around here.
Also,
If
that
Carl had at any point wished to get his hands on some caribou, he couldn't have wished for better than a distillery like this one.
check his mailbox. It's a key.
There should be a law forbidding doctors from falling sick. In spite of Dr. Beaupre's goodwill, the place didn't look much like a physician's office. It could easily be mistaken for a sewing shop. For the one-eyed, or for other vision problems, the eye patch was the way to go. Carl got the trembles as he imagined the excruciating pain that kind of scalpel could no doubt inflict. Within these miserable walls, patients probably felt more like in a slaughterhouse than in a doctor's office. A chamber pot. Fortunately for Carl, inspecting it wouldn't further this particular investigation.
Communists.
A communist manifesto. Only a few years ago, this type of allegiance meant prison time. And even at present, the Western world was very wary of the Soviet threat. Why would the doctor own such a book? Dr. Beaupre had done his medical studies quite far from here. He was surely one of the first students out of the new campus to settle on the mountainside.
Never did quite catch her name. No medical. Okay.
There was no doubt that the doctor and Hamilton knew each other very well. Doctors used light-reflecting frontal mirrors to look inside the patient's cavities. That was a bit unsettling, but back then, it was pretty much always the case with medicine. The good doctor, flanked by his beautiful spouse. Pure happiness, captured on cardstock. Carl recognized this woman's soulful eyes. Was it Dr. Beaupre who had hit him head-on at the village border? Nobody kills a rich patient to start a revolution. It didn't make any sense. He had to dig deeper still to understand. Luckily, that was Carl Faubert's specialty. Someone had lost a few liters of blood here. Carl's first thought had been a lumber accident, someone's hand cut by a saw, or a hunting accident. In any case, whoever had lost all this blood couldn't have gone far. Perhaps they were already dead.
Maybe.
Carl felt like he knew the doctor now. His belongings had spoken lengths about him. But what Carl had heard worried him.
I'm gonna go to like one more place and I'm gonna hop on.
A wintry atmosphere surrounded the house. The soundlessness of the area suggested it was empty. When finding a boot, one wonders what became of the foot. The key, which seemed to be meant for a padlock, bore an inscription reading Cloutier et Fils. A company name. Better keep an eye open. Businesses weren't exactly numerous around these parts. Money in a jar. What a shame. Carl would have loved cookies.
Now open that back up. Come on. First of all, close that.
pay stub for some undoubtedly harsh lumberjack work. Alexandre Blais felled trees and chopped woods for Cloutier et Fils.
Yeah, just steal some food. Steal some food.
The picture had been taken inside the house. It was the same wallpaper. Judging by the smiles, nobody suspected the impending misfortunes. Little Martin Blais with a family member. There was some resemblance between them, and Carl took note of the sense of bonding and pride they projected.
Huh. That is smashed.
Well, looks like someone woke up on the wrong side of the bed. The sheets were in such a way that indicated a rude awakening, followed by a hurried escape. What had happened here?
Can't hardly get sleep. Why would you get that out? Seriously, bro?
The spirograph amused Carl. It was a nice modern...
You better hope that door was cracked because it was closed and he opened it and closed it.
toy, aside from being repetitive by nature and completely useless. Still, it found its way into many Quebecois homes. Carl's big fingers prevented him from reaching the key.
Bruh.
Someone had been playing with a crossbow here. A very dangerous game. A bolt could hit someone's tire or their eye. It could even kill someone if the aim was right. There was only void where the road should be. Carl hated dead ends. He felt trapped. It was as if the road had drowned in the lake. He would have to find help by another road.
The ranger.
Someone must have dropped this in a hurry, but whoever did was heading into the woods. Carl's tracking instincts were quickly kicking in.
Ice wall.
Carl knew why he was suddenly shivering. He was going back to the realm of visions. Carl had no issue recognizing the spirit-like figures, but he couldn't figure out what they wanted from him. The phantom, freed of reality's shackles, vanished in the forest. Earlier, Carl had witnessed a tragedy that befell it. The further Carl moved away from the ice block, the more his senses came back to him. Carl sensed that the cold was beating a retreat, as if he was moving away from some kind of center of gravity.
I could have done that and I never did that. Oh my god.
At long last, the crowbar was within Carl's grasp. Surely it would come in handy at some point.
Yeah, and I don't know where to use it now because I needed it for something, but I forgot.
The store and its surroundings still held their secrets, and he didn't like to miss out.
Did I check this yet?
That had to be the worst parking job ever. Who was Carl to judge, though? It may be customary to park like that around these parts, or not.
I need that.
It was so cold. Already Carl did not feel his toes
I need
anymore.
that. Thank you.
It was a classic Canadian house, except for the absent horde of kids that would normally be swarming about.
Can I save? Why is it not auto-saving? Dude.
Just one more move and white is checkmated. Game over. It seems the game was abandoned right before the final strike came down.
Pick that up. There. Thank you, it's saved. Oh, I can save in fireplace areas. Well, I'm gonna save just to double check. Alright, if y'all enjoyed the video, like and subscribe, click the bell icon, and I'll see y'all next time.